Welcome to the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable Organizational Self-Assessment Tool Training Presentations. This video will take us through 4 areas. Introduction, Background and Benefits to the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable, HEDR. Organizational Foundation Information on Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Background and Benefits of the Organizational Self-Assessment Tool for Equity and Inclusion. And using the Organizational Self-Assessment Tool. At certain points in this presentation, there will be opportunities for group discussion. Please keep in mind the following guidelines. Everyone speaks for their own experience. Be open to new ideas. Be sensitive and respectful. We may encounter areas that may challenge us and cause discomfort, and that's an important part of growing and learning. Part 1. Introduction to the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable. The Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable, HEDR, was officially formed in 2013 and is a community collaborative of individuals and organizations committed to building systemic inclusion and equity in Halton, dedicated to developing a community where individuals are valued for their diversity, respected, empowered to realize their full potential. Who are the individuals and organizations in the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable? They are representatives of social service organizations, individuals representing equity, diversity, and inclusion awareness, people in the business community, people representing culture and faith-based communities, educational representatives, community members, or citizens. Everyone is welcome at the roundtable. How can the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable be of value to you? We share and exchange information, resources, and tools. We facilitate training to develop inclusive, equitable policies and practices. We offer participation through meetings, workshops, and our annual conference. We provide networking, collaboration, and relationship-building opportunities. We offer community engagement, involvement in inclusion initiatives, and innovative ideas. We help you build personal knowledge, skills, and practices. We build success and positive growth within organizations and businesses. Now that you know a little more about HEDR, let's explore our understanding of equity and inclusion. Foundations of Equity and Inclusion. To better utilize the self-assessment tool, we need a common understanding of equity and inclusion. Let's explore what we mean by equity. Pause the video and ask participants to talk to a partner about what equity means to them. Let's review our knowledge by taking this multiple choice quiz. HEDR defines equity as A. The quality and process of being fair and impartial. B. Treating everyone the same. C. Ensuring that everyone is rewarded. D. The same as equality. The answer is A. The quality and process of being fair and impartial. Equity. Every person has a right to equitable treatment with respect to services, goods, and facilities without discrimination. Equity does not mean treating people the same without regard for individual differences. What's the difference between equality and equity? Equality is giving the same treatment or service to all. Equity recognizes that people do not always start from the same spot, and therefore have different needs, and might need to be treated differently to have positive outcomes and ensure fairness. Equity contributes to equality. Let's review our knowledge by taking this multiple choice quiz. A positive outcome of diversity is A. Having the ability to never see color. B. Valuing and respecting, not simply acknowledging or tolerating different ideas, perspectives, and identities. C. Discovering the origins of cultures and religions. D. All of the above. The answer is B. diversity is recognized and viewed as a strength of the community that needs to be respected and fostered. What are our diversities? We all have unique identities that are made up in part by belonging to social identities. This diagram demonstrates some of the social identities that inform our experiences. There are more diversities than these, some of which are visible and some that are invisible. Think about other diversities we should value and respect. Pause the video and reflect on the social identities that create your own life experience. Social identities are fluid, overlapping, intersecting, and contextual. To better understand intersectionality of social identities, let's watch this short video.
There are many different types of discrimination, including things like discrimination based on sex, gender, culture, race, and other factors. And we can often consider these things in isolation. But what happens when someone experiences multiple forms of discrimination at the same time? What happens when we have overlapping areas of discrimination? Well, one of the things that can happen is that we can have individuals in our society that have characteristics that can result in them facing discrimination in multiple different areas. For example, we can have a female who is of African American origin and who, for example, practices Buddhist teachings. And in a particular society within our country, that may cause her to be discriminated against in 3 different areas. So if we were to draw her circles of discrimination, what would her overlap look like? So she may have one overlap based on her sex or gender. She may have one overlap based on her racial or cultural identification. And she may have another circle based on her religious ideas. And right in the center, we have this level of extreme overlap, right at the intersection. Now, why is it important to consider this intersection of these 3 different areas? It's important because at this intersection, these multiple different categories of potential discrimination or oppression may compound and interplay in this one individual and really significantly put her at a disadvantage within society. And in order to understand the level of disadvantage that she has, we really need to understand all 3 of these factors. The theory of intersectionality really states just that. It really focuses on the point at which these multiple different areas of potential discrimination overlap with one another and exist alongside one another, and says that we really need to understand when all of these things coexist, because if we don't consider all of them at the same time, we really don't get to fully understand the situation. So in this individual, if we just consider the fact that she likes Buddhist teachings in a culture or society that really doesn't appreciate that, and we miss the fact that the society also doesn't appreciate the fact that she's female or discriminates against African Americans, we may not fully understand the level of discrimination that she faces. And the same situation would result if we only consider the fact that she was female in a sexist society, or that she was African American in a racist society. So this theory of intersectionality really asks us to consider all of the different levels of discrimination. Now, while the theory was originally coined in 1989 by Crenshaw as a feminist theory to explain the oppression of women, it has since really expanded out. And people have then really used it to explain oppression and discrimination found in all parts of society.
Let's review our knowledge by taking this multiple choice quiz. Inclusion is A. Recognizing and listing all of the various diversities within a community. B. Ensuring equal pay for equal work. C. Developing a welcoming community where diverse individuals are supported and empowered to reach their full potential. D. Maintaining current employment policies in conformance with the Employment Standards Act. The answer is C. Developing a welcoming community where diverse individuals are supported and empowered to reach their full potential. Let's watch a short video that demonstrates the importance of inclusion.
In the garden, there's a caterpillar and a snail, and they're basically best friends. They hang out 24/7, they do dinner, movie nights, crafts, and they're like really into cosplay on top of like whatever else caterpillars and snails do, like eat leaves or something. Anyways, one day they're on their way to a party that's right outside the garden, and they have to go through the fence to get there. So the caterpillar goes right through, but the snail is stuck. Her shell is just too big and it won't fit under the wire. So she's like, crap, I can't get through. Maybe like, can you lift up the wire, or maybe we can build a little bridge or something? And the caterpillar's like, dude, just go under. But she can't. There's just no way that the shell is gonna fit. And the caterpillar's like, go under, come on, we're gonna be late and I'm trying to hook up with that super cute ladybug. But it's not happening. The shell will not fit under the wire, and at this point, Snail's getting kind of frustrated because it's not like she doesn't want to go to the party, but for some reason, Caterpillar just isn't getting it. Yeah, it's not that easy for me. I just can't crawl under the fence like you can, so I would really appreciate your help here. Maybe we can like go a different way, and this just like sets the Caterpillar off. What the heck? Just because I can crawl under stuff doesn't mean that I have it easy. Do you even know what it's like to have 16 feet? You don't, because finding shoes is a complete nightmare. Whoa. I'm not saying you have it easy. I'm just saying I can't go under the fence because of my shell. That's it. I have a shell and you don't. And there's some stuff that's easier for you that's harder for me. Just like I don't know jack about finding shoes because I don't have feet. Caterpillar thinks about this for a second and realizes the snail is right. I mean, he's never had to think about shells or slimy trails, and that's a privilege that the snail has never had because she has to think about that stuff all the time. That's part of being a snail. And it's kind of like that for everyone, right? I mean, we all have our own struggles and challenges, and some of them are small and some of them are huge and really unfair and beyond our control. And a lot of the time, it can be hard to see what someone else deals with because you've never been in their shoes or shell. Like maybe you're gay or trans, have a disability or different religion, or of course the obvious one, you're a member of a different race. I don't know what it's like to be you, and you don't know what it's like to be me. So it's really important to stop and try and see the other side so we can help each other overcome those obstacles together. It's like sometimes you're the snail and sometimes you're the caterpillar. Oh yeah, okay, so then the snail and the caterpillar figured out that if they went to the other side of the garden, they could get through a little break in the fence. And while it took a little longer to get to the party, they did the trip together, which is what made it so great. So they got to the party, the caterpillar hooked up with the ladybug, snail taught everyone how to do the wobble, and the party was everything. The end. This video was illustrated by the very talented and lovely Kat Black and written and narrated by yours truly, Cheska Lee. Please check out Kat's channel and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!
Pause the video and discuss how Sometimes You're a Caterpillar connects to your organization's journey towards inclusion for all stakeholders. Fact: certain populations have been and continue to be marginalized. Inclusion is an ongoing process of performance improvement to understand inequities, raise awareness, recognize intersectionality, recognize and interrupt conscious and unconscious situations where we may be using oppressive practices or language. When we address these, it builds the capacity of organizations to create an inclusive environment. In this next section, we are going to learn how organizations can use the Organizational Self-Assessment Tool for equity and inclusion. Benefits of organizational equity and diversity practices. Increased staff and persons served motivation. Programs and services meet the needs of persons served. Increased staff productivity. Personnel dedication and service longevity. Positive public and community image. Broader representation of skills and knowledge. Increased eligibility for grants and funding. Conformance to accreditation standards. How do we achieve organizational equity, diversity, and inclusion? HEDR has identified 6 areas for consideration. Organizational foundation. This includes the way your organization is structured and operates. Leadership. The leadership area addresses formal and informal leaders and leadership strategies in your organization. Service delivery. This examines how your programs and services best meet the diverse needs of stakeholders through input, accessibility, and barrier removal. Personnel practices. This looks at outreach, hiring, and employee accommodations. Communication. This assesses data, messaging, and public relations. Performance improvement. This area covers tracking, reporting, and accountability systems in your organization. Is there a helpful tool or framework? Yes, the HEDR Organizational Self-Assessment Tool for Equity and Inclusion. Background and benefits of the Organizational Self-Assessment Tool. This tool was developed by members of the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable, who considered a broad range of promising practices, success stories, and areas for improvement while using the inclusion lens. The tool takes us through the 6 identified areas of our group organization and helps us think about systemic barriers, attitudes, and challenges of access to individuals. We consider these and think about ways to improve in these areas. Organizational foundation, leadership, service delivery, personnel practices, communication, performance improvement. You can view the video on each of these topics in this series for more information. Now that we have identified the basic areas of the tool, let's get better acquainted with the content and strategies for using the tool. Strategies for using this tool. There is no right way to use this tool or complete it. Your organization may use all of it or parts of it that apply to your situation. We recommend that it is facilitated by an impartial person who can encourage all voices to be valued and heard. It's valuable to solicit input from as many individuals representing as many areas of contribution as possible. It is not just for leadership or boards alone. The process of using it is not intended to be stressful. It facilitates reflective and sometimes courageous conversations about how we are doing and what we could be doing. The conversations may lead to policy changes, attitude shifts, and best practices. It inspires mindfulness and responsiveness to people's unique needs and rights. It is a constantly evolving process of change and improvement. There is always more to do to ensure greater equity, more respect for diversity, and continuous inclusion. Using the Organizational Self-Assessment Tool for Equity and Inclusion. There are 4 columns in the tool: Indicators, Evidence, Actions Planned, and Score. Indicators. These are the questions we ask in our conversations and dialogue about continuous improvement. Not all indicators apply to every organization or group, and additional relevant indicators that arise in dialogue should be added. Evidence. Appropriate sources of evidence appear in many ways throughout an organization and reveal how an organization is performing or addressing the various indicators. Evidence proves that the work is being done and reduces individual subjectivity. Evidence can be found in written statements, reports, and policies, action plans or work plans that show responsibilities, such as accessibility plans or diversity competency improvement plans, feedback, surveys, and focus group recommendations from persons served, personnel, or stakeholders, internal or external demographic data, practices that have been adopted and documented, performance reviews, appraisals, and objectives, trainings completed, actions planned. These are the strategies and next steps to either improve or maintain the score in certain areas. Dialogue and input. Dialogue and input from many diverse stakeholders are key to the actions that are required. The importance of the conversations and input cannot be underestimated. Documentation. All recommendations and suggestions for actions should be considered and documented. All actions are valid. The actions can be large, creating a new policy manual or bringing in appropriate training, or smaller, changing language, words, terms, or adding statements to existing policies or documents. Template. In the tool, there is a template for a further improvement plan, where actions planned can be expanded upon with additional areas for responsibility and timeliness. Score. This is a snapshot of how we are doing in response to the indicator, evidence, and actions planned. The score is not intended to be evaluatory or judgmental. There's no failing score. Creating ongoing awareness of actions for improvement are the true measure of success. Guidelines for scoring. 3. Substantial. Some actions have been taken and there is good evidence. 2. Partial. Actions have started or are in progress with some evidence. 1. Minimal. Action is intended and conversations or planning has begun. At the end of the tool, there is a summary for the scoring of each area. This concludes the first HEDR training presentation. You may watch the next video on Organizational Foundation Self-Assessment. For more information, or to book a facilitator to help you lead the self-assessment process, please contact HEDR